Hey, Dr. Wade, this is Ronu McThomas. I hope all is going well with you. So, first of all, I would like to thank you for working with me. Um, I told you I would get my lesson plan to you um, yesterday, but I finally got it all put together, so I'm sorry for being a day late. So, I'm about to explain to you how I'm going to conduct my lesson. So, my lesson is for a fifth grade math class. It's going to take anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes. And I'm going to be working with the kids on addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So the first thing I'm going to do when my class come in is welcome them. Good morning, class. I'm happy to be with y'all today. We're going to do some exciting hands-on math work together. But before we begin, I'd like to start with something important. At my school, so a lot of Seattle public schools and other schools, they're doing land acknowledgement. But what I brought up to my principal that I think is important for us to also do land and labor acknowledgement. And so this is how we do it at our school, which is a high school. But for this scenario, I'm working in an elementary setting. So I'm gonna say I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are learning today under traditional land of the Duwamish tribe. We honor their enduring presence and stewardship of the land, both past and present. We also recognize that the land of Black, Indigenous, and immigrant communities, including those who have been historically marginalized, whose conditions have helped build the places we live, learn, and grow in today. And then I'm going to ask the class, do you guys know what the word marginalized mean? And most of them is probably going to say no. And if somebody says yes, and they raise their hand and say yes, I'm gonna call on them and ask them what they think it means. Then I'm gonna explain to the class that marginalized means being left out or treated unfairly, and sometimes because of people's skin color, where they come from, or the language they speak. Um, it also means they weren't given the same chances or respected as others, even when they work just as hard. So, guys, we want everybody to be seen, respected. We want to include everybody. And then I'm gonna do a check-in and ask the class, can anyone think of a time when they haven't been included and how that made them feel? So I'm gonna take about 2 minutes on that. So then after that, I'm gonna set up my lesson and I'm gonna tell the class, today we'll be working in groups using pencils to explore addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in real life. You'll be mathematician, problem solvers, and explainers. The materials that I'm gonna need for this and the setup is I'm gonna break the students into groups of four. Each group will receive a bag of 50 pencils. Each student will get a math recording sheet, and then I'm gonna give them roles and let them know what each of them will be doing within the role. Um, Before we begin the math task, your group will need to pick two roles, guys. A facilitator. The facilitator is a person that will read the instructions out loud and guide the group. The facilitator will also help write down your final answers. Now, the note taker is going to be the person that writes down everybody's thinking and the final answers. And then when I call on you guys, um, the note taker will explain what's on the notes. And then I'll give the kids 1 to 2 minutes to choose their roles. Then I'm going to let them know after the 2 minutes are up. I will give your group a math task and you will have 6 minutes to complete it together. I'm going to set a timer. When the timer goes off, you guys are going to stop. And then that's when I'm going to call on the note taker from each group to read your answers and how you came up with your solution. Be ready to explain your thinking. And at the end, after we get through everybody, then I'm gonna switch and you'll go to the next station. So then I'll ask the class, what are some different ways we can count or divide 50 pencils? If we split them up evenly, what math operations are we using? What if we asked or take away some pencils? What will happen? So, like I said, each group will have 6 minutes. At each of the stations, I will have math um, unassigned. I mean, not math. I'm sorry. I will have division unassigned. I will have multiplication. Um, um, the next station, I will have addition. The next station, and subtraction. So it will be 4 stations with each of them, with a sign with each of them. So for the multiplication, the directions would say, if each person in your group get 5 pencils, how many pencils is that in total? What if each group has 7 pencils? How do you know? And then I'm gonna ask each of the note takers after the timer goes off, how did your group figure that out? Did you use drawings? Did you skip count? Or tell me, how did you do it? And then I'm going to let the note takers explain it. For the division, I'm going to let them know you guys will have 50 pencils. If you want to divide them equally among your group of 4, how many pencils does each person get? But what if you have 5 people instead? Then when the timer goes off for that, I'm going to ask the note takers, do you have a remainder? How did you deal with it? Can you explain your steps? For the addition, I'm going to tell the group, let's say that your group finds 10 more pencils. How many do you have? What if you needed 10 more pencils? And then I'm going to start a timer. At the end of the timer, I'm going to ask each of the note takers, what strategy did you use? What was the total each time? Then for the subtraction, I'm going to ask, I'm going to let them know now the sign is going to say, now you give away 12 pencils to another group. How many do you have left? Then I'm going to ask them, how did you solve it? Did you check your work out another way? So the reflection part, which should take about 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to ask them what you learned about working with numbers. Which operation was easier? Which was trickier? How did your group work together to solve these problems? I'm going to encourage 1 to 2 groups to show their method with drawings or manipulatives. Then at the end, I'm going to have a 5-minute exit ticket. I'm going to have them write or draw one way we use math today to explain their operations and how they used it and why. And the final question is going to be, if you had 100 pencils instead of 50, which operations would you use to split them up? And what would that look like? So what I'm going to assess is how the groups collaborated, how they used their roles, look for their explanations and strategy and reasoning, and collect their exit tickets and group notes for understanding. So that's my lesson. Tell me what you think.